Hi, I'm Alex, and this is Tank Tested. Today, we're looking at a show aquascape in my friend Chris's fish room. It's a beauty of an aquascape, and this week we're going to do something a little different. Rather than talking about the technical side of aquascaping, I've asked Chris to talk about his style and what's inspired him. Here's Chris.
So, I guess one of the things you discover as you get in the hobby and you want to add tank after tank after tank is that it becomes challenged to balance keeping up more of a show quality tank in more than one or two tanks and balancing that with everything else that's going on in life. I also really like having one tank out and about in our normal living space that we can see, and then try and put the effort to keep that tank always looking as good as possible.
Next, I asked Chris to explain what inspired him to set up this particular aquascape.
A few trips recently out to areas in Utah and California, and you think of some of the real craggly pines out there that grow in the side of rocks, and they've been there for sometimes literally hundreds or thousands of years. And so you have these big exposed rocks. That's what the one on the left is, a maple leaf rock. You get the nice deep red canyon kind of colors, but then you get all of the roots and other things kind of growing down. But even the tree itself is not a upright tree. It's nebulous in terms of you don't know really where it starts and ends, but you hope that it's interesting to look at.
I also asked Chris to talk about the size of this aquascape. Not the dimensions of the tank, but what size environment was he trying to emulate? And his answer is similar to what I hear from a lot of aquascapers.
I can't really define an exact scale for the scape, because on the one hand you could say, okay, that's a huge rock, it's a tree growing on the side of this big canyon, which would probably be more the diorama style. But then on the other hand, you could say that really this is the edge of a riverbed where the bedrock is exposed and there was a tree there and all the soil has been washed away and what's left is the roots. Part of it was purposeful, part of it was by accident, but I think in the end I liked the ambiguity.
I think aquascaping is an art form, and like all art forms, we're inspired by other creators. I asked Chris who he was inspired by when creating this aquascape. His answer is another scaper you can find on YouTube.
Drawing some inspiration for the tree piece from Felipe Oliveira and some of his classic treescapes, because I haven't explored that space a whole ton. It was really just suggesting, it was not trying to recreate a bonsai tree underwater.
I think Chris's style is unique, and I wouldn't have suspected he was inspired by Felipe. But you can judge for yourself. In the cards, I'll leave two videos from his channel. The first is an aquascape featuring a tree structure. The second is one of his more recent videos that I am particularly impressed by. Oh, and if you check his videos out, leave a comment saying that I sent you. I don't actually know him, and I think that would be amusing. Now back to Chris to round out this scape.
With this scape, it's all set up with maple leaf rock and spider wood. The spider wood comes from a number of different pieces that I hacked and sawed and tore apart and then put back together again, trying to create that flow of the treetop on the left side, then flowing down with the roots, and then all of the anubias and mosses and other things hopefully help cover some of the gaps and tie things together.
In the background, you may have noticed a piece of black equipment. It's a surface skimmer, and I think it's one of the most underused pieces of equipment in the aquarium hobby.
I had found that without them in certain times of year, I would get more surface scum, but the skimmer kind of solves that problem. When you do have the film, it's not pretty to look at, particularly upstairs or in a rimless tank. But even more important, it's just pretty much an extra precaution to try and drive more oxygen into the water.
And that's because scum inhibits gas transfer across the water's surface. CO2 can't escape into the air, and oxygen can't make its way into the water column. So for the past few months, I've started using surface skimmers in many of my aquariums. For my nano tanks, I use this little one, and I've left a link to it, as well as the one that Chris uses, in the description below. So if you're interested, check those out. That's it for this week. I will see you next time. And if you like this video, hit subscribe.